Well, it's main event time here at Revolution Wrestling Authority's Walking Tall. We're here in High Point, North Carolina. My name's Gerard. I'm joined, of course, by my longtime broadcast partner, the great Brandon Benefield, and we've got tag team action happening here tonight.
Absolutely. This will be a fun one indeed, but it's not just any regular tag team matchup. This one has a major stipulation on the line.
The following tag team contest is scheduled for one fall. Team number one, first, weighing in at 220 pounds and hailing from Charleston, South Carolina, Zuka King. His tag team partner, coming to the ring by Angelina, weighing in at 239 pounds. He is the Revolution Wrestling Authority heavyweight champion, Psycho Boy Fodder.
Well, indeed, you mentioned like De La Soul, the stakes are high on this one, and they're super high because the RWA heavyweight champion, Psycho Boy Fodder, is kind of in a must-win situation here in this tag team match, because if they should lose, if he or Zuka King should lose this match, Fodder loses that championship.
That's right, per RWA management, if they lose this match, Psycho Boy Fodder will be stripped of the RWA heavyweight title.
And their opponents, first, weighing in at 205 pounds and hailing from Robertsdale, Minnesota, Mr. Excellence, Brandon Scott. His tag team partner, 288 pounds and hailing from Nashville, Tennessee, Kid Kash.
Well, you've got an amazing opportunity here for the champion to lose that title, because he's going against a great tag team here, the team of Brandon Scott and the legendary Kid Kash.
Absolutely, these guys are no joke. They've been around a long time. Kid Kash, I was talking to you off air earlier. The last time I saw Kid Kash was in Orlando, Florida, 2004 TNA. And here he is, still going hard and still at the top of his game here, this time at Revolution Wrestling Authority.
I'll tell you, perhaps there's not been a bigger threat to the championship reign of Psycho Boy Fodder than Brandon Scott and Kid Kash. Again, here's a scenario where the champion does not have to be involved in the fall, and if you're going to be in this situation, you prefer to battle a team that may not be so tough or so tenured. But you've got a different situation here with Brandon Scott and Kid Kash.
Ever since winning the title, Fodder always at odds here with the management at RWA. And, you know, we followed that entire chase for the championship.
We sure did.
And he's held on to the title ever since he won it so many months ago. But like I said, it's almost like management is trying to think of any way possible to try to get that title from around the waist of Psycho Boy Fodder.
You know, Fodder for the longest time felt as though the management here at RWA has had it in for him, whether it was the referees or the commissioners or general managers, and now you could argue he could make a case for that, but he hasn't exactly endeared himself to the management here at Revolution Wrestling Authority.
Not so much, and of course you mentioned how he's had issues with certain referees. Did you just notice Angelina Love there kind of bossing our official around, making the team switch corners there? Very interesting is the arrogance here of Psycho Love, just acting like they're always calling the shots around RWA.
Well, I guess they feel like if we've got the championship, we've got the stroke. Well, with that said, the champion is starting this match, and I got to ask you, do you think the pressure lies more here on Fodder or Zuka King to be able to make sure they win this match?
Oh, it's absolutely on Fodder. Fodder's the one with the gold. Zuka King, of course, recruited by Fodder to help him out here in this matchup, but Zuka King really has nothing to lose in this case.
Certainly does not. I mean, it certainly all falls there on Fodder, and part of me feels like if I'm Fodder, I almost want to be in this match the entire time to ensure that I can guarantee a victory, but hopefully his choice of Zuka King will be a good choice for him.
Goes for a big shot there with the right hand, but Brandon Scott able to duck out of the way. Great name there, Brandon Scott. I like that name.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid name. You know a little bit something about that.
There you see Psycho Boy Fodder and Zuka King there going over some strategy.
You know, you talk about Zuka King as the choice here for the partner of Fodder. Zuka King knows quite a bit about tag team wrestling. He's a 4-time tag team champion, trained by someone that Fodder knows a whole lot about, John Schuyler. And so Zuka King has been in this business here for 10 years. So if you're going to get a partner, get somebody with experience, get somebody who understands tag team wrestling, that being Zuka King.
This crowd all over Fodder right now. They know what to do to get under his skin. And the champion now looking for a test of strength here with Brandon Scott, but a thumb to the eye instead from Fodder.
And Brandon Scott is in trouble again. Fodder going to the playlist and the playbook that has worked for him all over in terms of becoming champion and retaining the title. But here it is, Brandon Scott there with a reversal.
Nice side headlock takeover from Scott. And a handful of hair though from Fodder as Fodder. Oh, pin attempt there. Oh, Fodder almost lost it just that quickly. And another pin attempt there for Brandon Scott.
You know, you have to wonder, too, in terms of Brandon Scott and Kid Kash. I mean, it seems as though tonight they have one job, find a way to get a win tonight. So I'm curious, you know, if one of them happens to get the pinfall here tonight, do they become the #1 contender? Do they potentially become champion once that title is stripped off of Fodder?
That's a great question. You got to think maybe they'll have some sort of title tournament. Once Fodder gets stripped of the title, I say once as if it's a sure thing. I don't know. We'll see what happens later in this matchup.
Well, here's the thing. Fodder will make sure with all that he can that won't happen. But right now, you can see Brandon Scott, who is doing great work. And Scott is a 17-year veteran. Big drop kick there. Knows an awful lot about championships. And there, a deep arm drag there by Brandon Scott.
Scott just working on that left arm, that left shoulder there of the champion. And look at Kash on the outside. Kash says, well, you got it under control.
Indeed. Brandon Scott has held 15 different championships across a 17-year career, and now he tags into somebody who knows quite a bit about championships and experience in this business.
Double hip toss there from Kid Kash and Brandon Scott, and double elbows right to the heart of the champion. And the legend, Kid Kash, finally getting some ring time in this matchup here. Gonna bring Fodder back up to his feet.
You know, you talk about, oh wow.
It's a cross chop there from Fodder.
I was gonna say, you talk about living legends. One thing that Fodder seems to like, he seems to like battling living legends, as a legend seems to battle him on the regular, but once again, that deep arm drag proves to be dangerous there for Fodder.
Yeah, Kash picking up right where Brandon Scott left off. Going to work on that left arm now of the champion. And now stomping on that left hand of Psycho Boy Fodder.
Kid Kash, who has wrestled in 4 different decades, knows an awful lot about what it's like to be in the main event, to work under the bright lights and the big city. And there's a big tag there, back into Brandon Scott.
Brandon Scott now going up to that second turnbuckle. Comes down with a double axe handle right to the shoulder of the left arm there of Psycho Boy. And Fodder now face first into the top turnbuckle.
What an honor it is for both Scott and Kash to really be the guys assigned there by the company to try to get this championship off of Fodder and kind of restore some sort of honor here at Revolution Wrestling Authority.
And this great crowd here in High Point chanting right along, counting right along with those shots for Brandon Scott. Now Fodder reverses, sends Scott right into the waiting knee there of Zuka King on the outside.
You know, and I was starting to wonder when Zuka King would find his way in this match. As I mentioned before, Fodder is really trying to do all the legwork because, again, it's his championship up for grabs, basically.
Some ground and pound there from Psycho Boy Fodder. And again, Kash and Scott have to be wary, have to be careful of the Psycho Girl there on the outside, as finally now Zuka King tags in.
And this is a great opportunity for Zuka King to prove his worth. I've got to wonder, could Zuka King potentially be in title contention if he somehow helps, of course, the champion retain the title and not get it stripped tonight?
That's a great question. You kind of wonder what did it take there for Psycho Boy to be able to recruit Zuka King to help him in this matchup here, as now both Zuka King and Fodder going to work there on Brandon Scott. Zuka
King there, again, understands what it's like to be in the championship echelon, and that's a big deal for him. Again, a multiple-time tag team champion. He knows what it's like to wear the gold, but even though he's a 10-year veteran, he is certainly outmatched in terms of experience by his opponents here tonight, but not in terms of strength. He's definitely the strongest man in this contest. Big scoop and a huge body slam.
Scott in big trouble there, a jumping elbow drop from Zuka King, and Zuka now with the advantage, gonna hook the outside leg, but just a 2 count. Or a 1 count rather. You even hear Angelina Love screaming just a 1 count.
Surprising there, but a quick tag from Zuka King back into the champion, Psycho Boy Fodder.
Scott now eats a double back elbow from Zuka and Fodder.
And I'll tell you what, call it a surprise, but Fodder did a good job in terms of recruiting Zuka King. These two are working like a well-oiled machine.
Brandon Scott in a world of trouble right now, draped across that middle rope, desperate for a tag here, and of course Fodder using that middle rope to his advantage, choking the life there out of Brandon Scott. And, well, now wait a second, with the referee distracted there by Fodder, Psycho Love, and Psycho Girl in particular here.
Well, I got to give it here to Fodder. Fodder understands, and he's treating this very much like it is a title match, because in essence it is. So you got the Psycho Girl out there. You've got Zuka King here. You pull out all the stops to ensure that you win this match and that the title is not stripped from Psycho Boy Fodder.
Fodder now dropping the knuckles right across the forehead. Pin attempt here, but just a 2 count. Is Scott able to get that left shoulder up just in time, and now Fodder trying to choke the life out of Brandon Scott here. Brandon Scott, I'm telling you, desperately in need of a tag to Kid Kash on the outside.
Yeah, he definitely could use the fresh man to be in there. As for Psycho Boy Fodder, you know, oftentimes when you get into these main event situations with some big stakes on the line, you may try new moves, try new strategies. Not Fodder. Fodder is sticking to what brought him to the dance. That's been ground and pound, and that's been this intentional and methodical approach.
Brandon Scott finally with some elbows to the midsection. Oh, but just when he got ahead of steam, Fodder met him with a back elbow and sent Scott right back down to the canvas.
Here's what's interesting to me. It seems to me like Kash and Scott are really more so two individuals, not really working well as a team. Meanwhile, you speak of a team here, feigning a tag is Zuka King. Ooh.
But Fodder still going to work there on Scott, and now an official tag there as Zuka King makes his way back in to pick up right where Fodder left off.
Right now, it basically feels like a handicap match. Zuka King and Fodder have cut off the ring. Scott is in trouble. He can't get over to his corner, and it's making for a long, long night here for Brandon Scott.
Zuka King now with a swinging neck breaker to Scott. Lateral press, hooks the outside leg, but Kash in to break it up just in time.
Kid Kash needs to get into that ring and really kind of quicken the pace here, but he's not going to be able to do that if Zuka King has anything to say about it.
Referee there checking on Brandon Scott. Brandon Scott not going to give up just yet, trying to keep those arms up, trying to keep his air. But slowly that air is leaving his body there. Zuka King just wrenching in tight.
And this is smart work there from Zuka King. Zuka King definitely having the weight and strength advantage, and he's using that leverage to wear down Brandon Scott, and this match could be over. One more time and it's a wrap.
No, Brandon Scott says not yet. You see him wagging the finger and stomping the foot. He's got a second wind here, a second chance.
And Kid Kash trying to get this crowd here to get back into this matchup and support Scott, and they're indeed doing that here at High Point, North Carolina.
There's a big jawbreaker there from Brandon Scott, creating a little separation here. But now right back to the choke goes Zuka King. No, not so fast, says Scott. Scott using his momentum, taking Zuka King into that top turnbuckle.
And Scott needs to get over to his corner.
Springboard cutter.
And that could be what he needs to make that move over to Kid Kash.
Where in the world did he pull that from?
I don't know where he got it from, but I know for sure that if Kid Kash gets in this match, the pace will quicken and the championship for Fodder is in danger.
It couldn't have come at a better time now as Scott slowly trying to make his way to his corner. You see Kid Kash there desperate for a tag. And Scott using his legs now trying to keep Zuka King off of him.
Zuka King ends up in the corner, and now we get that long-awaited tag. The two freshmen are coming in.
There's a back elbow from Kid Kash. Kid Kash now with a hip toss to Psycho Boy Fodder. In comes Zuka King for a hip toss.
Kid Kash knows a lot about championships. He's a former ECW World Television Champion, and he's a former Cruiserweight Champion with moves just like that.
Pin attempt. After that springboard cross body, Kid Kash almost got the victory, but Zuka King right there to break it up, and now Kash face first into the top turnbuckle.
Kid Kash knows a lot about tag team wrestling as well, a former two-time NWA Tag Team Champion. He has all of the credentials, and he could be the guy to ensure that Fodder no longer holds the championship here in this company.
How about that? Scott sends Zuka King out, but no, a Psycho Slam to Brandon Scott from Psycho Boy Fodder.
And Scott, I don't believe, is the legal man.
But how about that basement drop kick from Kid Kash? And now the Psycho Girl, Angelina Love, with the Psycho stick in hand, up there on the ring apron. Wait a second, roll up.
But Fodder,
and a handful
he's got
of
the tights.
And Fodder steals the victory, and he keeps his RWA Heavyweight Championship. Unbelievable.
By hook or by crook, somehow, someway, Psycho Boy Fodder managed to do it. And once again, the authority here in Revolution Wrestling Authority cannot get that championship away from Fodder.
Well, there were huge stakes here tonight, and Fodder somehow comes away with the victory and somehow still retains his title. Fans, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again next time. This has been RWA Walking Tall, live from High Point, North Carolina.